This is a video I made on how to repair the Back-UPS ES650 UPS that I've had for quite some time. This is a nice UPS. I've had it for quite some time. I've actually replaced the lead acid battery several times. I don't know how old it is. It's quite a few years old. But basically, I wanted it to be repaired, and I originally replaced the battery with another lead acid battery, but it just wasn't holding the charge and wasn't working. And then I decided, well, why don't I see if I can fix it and at the same time replace the battery with a LiFePO4, LiFePO4 lithium iron battery, which will have a much longer lifespan than the lead acid batteries, with a few limitations on how much power it can output and things like that. So I'm making this short video to show what I did to repair my unit. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is basically just disassemble this unit. As you'll see here, I've already replaced the battery with a lithium iron battery. Here, the original was a lead acid battery, a replacement that I'd already replaced at least once in this unit. So I've already replaced it here, but basically it's a simple swap. This basically just has the two connectors. Just want to make sure if you do this, you get your red to your red and your black to your black. There's not a lot to disassemble these. You do want to make sure, of course, you've unplugged it and the battery is disconnected. There's always a potential for shock, and you don't want to deal with that. One little trick I use, I don't know if everybody does it, but when I take screws out of a device, I tend to put them in the same pattern as the holes in the unit. That way, if they're a different size, it becomes very easy to know which went where. In this case, you can see that they're all the same size, so not really very relevant. But in other cases, sometimes they're a little shorter, a little bigger, a little smaller, and it just makes your life a whole lot easier when it comes to reassembly, particularly if there's a lot of screws. To get these out, you just have to squeeze those through here. And I'll just set that aside. Now I have, like I mentioned, I have made a repair on this already. I just wanted to show you what I did do to repair this board. First thing here I did do, which I'll just repeat here, is I had to take all of these connectors off to actually get a hold of the board outside, because you can't really work on it with these connectors on there. There's not very many. There's these, and they're all different sizes, so you don't have to worry too much about where they go. You just need to remember each and every connector. This is some sort of a ground. And then here with the transformer, you've got 3 more connectors, a black, a white. These you want to remember. One other thing I often do is I'll take a photograph of it before I remove any connectors. That way I know exactly where they go back in case I end up reassembling it later. But in this case, it's pretty straightforward. And also this is labeled here. I don't know if you can see that, but it does say white. So that's pretty handy. So this was the board that I worked on. And basically, I didn't know what was wrong, but what happened was when I connected my battery, my new battery, it needed to be charged. This battery arrived pretty much dead. I was a little surprised. Usually they arrive with like 70, 50, 80, 70% capacity, but this one was pretty much dead. So I thought rather than manually charge it with my power supply here, I would just let the UPS charge it. Well, lo and behold, when I hooked this up to charge it, I used my little ammeter here, which does have a DC setting. I got this from Harbor Freight quite a few years ago, but it was a really good deal, $100, and I think there was a discount, $20 on sale that month. But you can set this to, yeah, there we go, DC, and then this thing you sometimes have to zero it out with the relative. And then when it was connected, I just hooked it up like this, and then I would watch how much power was going in, or amperage, current. And it was basically less than a tenth of an amp. And at a 10 amp hour battery charging at a tenth of an amp, I was pretty concerned that it was never going to charge. So taking a wild guess what might be wrong, um, typically what happens with electronic components, unless something has shorted out or broken, um, is your electrolytic capacitors are often very highly suspect. So what I did was I basically desoldered each one of these. And I started with the small ones and then went to the large one. Um, and then I measured them. This meter also has a nice little capacitance measurement setting here. So when I got the large capacitor out, I took a look at it, and there was nothing wrong with the top, but when I looked at the bottom, I could already see that there was a bulge. So I was pretty sure this was the culprit. At that point, I obtained a replacement capacitor, and being careful to observe the polarity of the capacitor, soldered it in. That's why taking photos is also helpful, because sometimes the boards are not labeled as to the polarity. Um, Anyhow, I did that and I thought, well, why don't we give it a try? Maybe that's all that was wrong. And I'll walk you through the steps of what I did and what I measured. So anyhow, after replacing the capacitor, I'm going to go ahead and reverse and reassemble this. It's, again, pretty straightforward. You basically want to do it the same way you took it apart. And the way I'll do that is put the connectors in the same way I took them out. There, there, the negative goes there. Let's just sit this down in the proper place here. And then these go in just like that. Okay, so after I did that, I can demonstrate this too. I'm going to go ahead and hook up the battery, and there's enough space. It's a little challenging. This is just temporary. This is for testing the circuit, and you want to be very careful if you do this. You don't want to be touching this board if everything is live. We'll go ahead and do it this way so that we can hook this up. Now, if I turn this unit on over here, there we go. Now you can probably hear the faint buzz. Okay, I've discharged the battery a bit, unplugged it. You can see with just the UPS running, the current draw. Now I'm going to plug it in, and we'll see how much current is drawn to charge that battery. Okay, that's exactly what I thought we should be getting, about half of an amp charging capacity till the battery gets fully charged. We can measure the voltage. I change the setting here. I can go over here, connect this up. What's the voltage? 13.24. That's pretty reasonable. Once the battery is fully charged, the voltage across here is about 13.6, 13.65. So basically, it's never going to fully charge your LiFePO4 battery, but it's going to be way up there. It's about 90, 95% charged, my estimate, when it gets to that voltage. Also, I did measure not this UPS, but a similar APC UPS. And for discharging, the UPS cut out at about 11 volts. I'm going to guess this one is the same, but I'll disclaimer, I never tested this particular one. So the battery should be good down to 10 volts, but the UPS cuts out at around 11. Therefore, you're not going to get the same capacity with this 10 amp hour battery as you might with a lead acid battery. But on the other hand, this thing can be charged, 2,000 times charge and discharge, and you're going to only lose a small amount of capacity versus lead acid, which, if you do discharge it fully, is maybe good for a few dozen times till it kind of wears out. So anyway, it's basically working. I'm going to go ahead and reassemble this now, and we'll be good to go. Going to go ahead and check the voltage while it's running in UPS mode. 114.1 volts. I can also do a little test too. We can see exactly what the waveform looks like. Okay, you can now see that this is the waveform being generated by the UPS. It is the modified sine wave, and you'll be able to see that change when I plug it in, because then it's going to go back onto normal house power, and there we are. It's now back to the regular sine wave that's coming out of the wall outlet. One thing I wanted to mention too is if you end up replacing your lead acid battery with a Life PO4 battery, lithium iron battery, these typically have lower current draw, at least at this size, compared to lead acid, meaning this particular battery is rated for 10 amps continuous. So if you exceed 10 amps, the BMS may cut the battery current off entirely, which sort of defeats the purpose of a UPS. So you have to be mindful of what you're plugging into the battery outlets and how much wattage or current that may draw when running on the battery. 10 amps would be good for theoretically around 120 watts with 100% efficiency. Since nothing in electronics is 100% efficient, I would be mindful for maybe running a max of around 90 watts. So you might want to check your computer or actually perform a measurement to see how much wattage your computer actually draws, and everything else that's plugged into the battery um, at this that would theoretically be running on the UPS at the same time, because you don't want to have it cut out unexpectedly. That defeats the whole purpose. A lead acid battery, on the other hand, is really good for high current for a short period of time. It's just their lifespan is not as long. Anyhow, I just wanted to mention that. Hope this helps. Thanks. Bye bye.